and welcome to Uncorked Conversations, where we have authentic and real conversations. As you can see, my amazing co-host is uncorking some amazing red wine. I'm Crystal Renee, also known as KG.
And I'm Chris Classic.
And he's taking a long time to uncork this, but we need this wine so we can unwind, because we're going to have a real conversation here in this moment. So, without further ado, while he's figuring that out, let's start from this way and introduce our amazing panelists for today.
Hi, my name is Crystal Renee. I'm an actress and entrepreneur.
Actress and entrepreneur with one of the top shows right now on BET, with the spinoff coming, Zatima. If you don't know, now you know.
I'm Keri Hilson, a singer-songwriter, actress.
And she is also the #1 anthem for AKA's Show 2 Ski Week to my sorors.
My name is Melissa Proctor. I'm the Executive Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer for the Atlanta Hawks and State Farm Arena, and also an author of a book From Ball Girl to CMO.
Say that with your chest, ball is life. Shout out to the Hawks, I'm always there.
Yes, you are.
And Chris, do you need my help?
Yes.
Come on over, now let's switch. You go ahead and start and I'll hold you down.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, we're about to be uncorked and begin this conversation. So what I found amazing in my research about all of you, thank you so much. Now we can really begin. Thank you.
All right.
I started it though. What I've really found amazing is that all of you have had a journey that involves some sort of layered delay. And it wasn't what you started out thinking your life would be, and you were resilient and you pivoted. And if I may ask, what are some of the lessons of the pivot that you may have experienced, that you have stood out, that you may want to share with people?
Lessons of the pivot. I would say I'm pretty sure I'm no different in that life brought about the need for many pivots.
Yeah.
On the way to my career, and it's still bringing about the need to pivot. But I don't know if there's one lesson. I think when you said that, it's all I felt was a sense of gratitude that I was capable of pivoting. That circumstances allowed me the opportunity to pivot if and when that was necessary. But I'm sure you have a lot of lessons, I'm sure. I'm grateful.
The irony is I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I say it all the time.
Cheers to that.
To everyone. And, when I was 15 years old, I remember telling my mom I wanted a job. And she was an old school Belizean woman, and she said, Mel, you can only get a job for whatever you want to do for the rest of your life. And at 15 years old, I was an artist. I loved drawing and painting, and I was like, I really love watching basketball on TV. Never played, ever. So I was like, I'm going to become the first female coach in the NBA.
Wow.
And she was like, okay, go get a job at the NBA. So she almost didn't give me an option. So there was no plan B. And I think that was the greatest lesson I could have gotten at 15, because I didn't even, like, okay. So I wrote a bunch of letters. I'm from Miami to the Heat, and they were like, no, we can't hire you. We only have ball boys. Like, what would you do? And I was so persistent. They were like, all right, well, after discouraging me, they're like, come in for a preseason game. Had never been there, never been to the arena, didn't know anybody. And that was the beginning of my career in sports.
Wow.
So had it not been for her urging and really just saying, well, you don't have an option. So if that's what you want, go for it.
That's true.
So anything's possible.
I think for me, one of the biggest lessons was thinking that you come into something knowing, you see all your friends thriving, like, oh, if they can do it, I can do it too. And not realizing how many no's it's going to take before you can get that.
1,000.
Literally. And like you were saying, having the resilience, like, to keep going. And even I had so many different pivots and paths for my journey to get to where I am now. But I think definitely just following that path, just allowing your steps to be ordered and not rush certain things. Because a lot of times, like, I want it now, and just being patient was one of the biggest lessons for me.
So we hear a lot in everyone's conversation about path, pivots, purposeful. What were some of the pivots you had, right? What were some of those moments, right? Because we know you went from ball girl to CMO, but how did you get there? You went from from what now I know, from singing, right, and coming here and going after your dreams and goals to now starring on a show, like what were some of the moments, those pivots? What was your journey? Like what were the specific things that happened that allowed you to get to where you are now? And that's open to anyone. She's like,
It's a lot.
oh, say it. We got time. We got time. We got time. We got time.
Got time today.
I need to sip some of this.
Sip a little wine.
I gotta remember all the, okay, so.
It's a lot, right?
Yes, there's a lot
Yeah.
because I remember having, okay, I want to perform. I grew up watching Star Search and Video Soul and Apollo and like, that's me.
Yeah.
Okay? Little did I know, God had such a journey. I joined a girl group. Well, I met with someone who became my artist developer,
Good.
Marvin McIntyre. He built a girl group around me. That we signed to Electric Records on, as a matter of fact, 17 years old, record deal, the summer before I was to attend Emory University. That group disbanded during my freshman year of college. We never released. I was waiting for the sound just in case. Hey, thank you so much. Very good, thank you. I'll put it there for now. That group disbanded, then I ended up in another, so I took up songwriting as a matter of fact. Before the second group was formed, I began songwriting, which I had done, here and there along the way. Like, I liked it, but for me, songwriting was a pivot out of performing, but still close to it. I remember thinking, what would I do? Do I want to work at radio? I could be a Disney singer. Like, I could work on Broadway. Like, I could go to Vegas and just be a show. I don't know.
Right.
I just love to perform. That's all I knew. And while I'm songwriting, Anthony Dent here in Atlanta ended up forming another girl group. And honestly, it wasn't what I really wanted to do, but we showcased and I got to perform and I was still songwriting. I became like his in-house songwriter. And then it became, I don't know, there were so many pivots. Oh, so cut to, I am now working with Timbaland, whatever year this was, 04 I think. I go to Miami. Record deal happens my second night there from the stuff that I've been working on with him for 2 nights. We did maybe 2 or 3 songs, and Atlantic Records made an offer. That was outrageous. Didn't expect. Budgets weren't even doing this at the time. It was kind of like when the industry was being more conservative and but that happened. It's like, okay, so now I'm living in Miami for a year and a half or 2 years in Tim's house, Timbaland's house. And I was in college. I ended up taking a couple semesters off. I was back and forth at Emory University. So I remember I just never couldn't seem to get a year full all the way through.
So Emory University, what were you doing there, for those who don't know?
And that was honestly another plan. That was my mother and father's plan. So I didn't really want to go to school, to be quite honest. So initially it was music. I majored in music, and then I hated music. I think I may have only done 1 semester, and I changed to theater. So I became a theater major at Emory. But as luck would have it, or I guess fate would have it, destiny would have it, that I never graduated. I got my record deal my senior year, just going into, was it my second semester? No, before the first semester of my senior year. And it wasn't even that the record deal that, it was a few. We created a bid war. I get shelved. I landed at Interscope Records. I get shelved for 4 years. I have to pivot again because I was getting ready for artist mode.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's another pivot. So I'm pivoting back to songwriting.
It's like I'm signed. It's a wrap.
I'm pivoting back to songwriting. At this point, I think by the time I released, I had been writing for 8 or 9 years for other artists.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I started young, and I was just grateful that I had skills. I remember thinking, gosh, because if I had to put all of my eggs in the artist basket, do you know how depressed I would have been, how resentful and mad rapper I would have been, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
it just, I'm just grateful that I had means. And looking back, it's like it was all, you know,
Part of the plan.
gears that fit together
Yes.
for the, you know,
8 or 9 years.
yeah. And I'm sure I'm not even, I pivoted again into movies.
Right.
Just 2020, lost my father. I didn't want to grieve. I was running. I was just telling someone this story backstage. I didn't want to, you know, we were sitting down, so it's like you can't really run from the grief process.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, what I love about movies is that you get to be in an alternate universe.
Yeah.
I think, you know what I mean? You get to kind of push pause and jump into
A whole other person.
another dimension for a month or two, and that was another pivot, to be honest. Couldn't release music, we couldn't do shows.
Right.
We artists, you know what I mean? We were stuck at home, like
Everybody
doing
was stuck at
virtual
home
stuff. Yeah,
for
we
a
were all
while.
stuck at home trying to figure it out. And movies again, you know, and it just turned out to be, I don't know, five lead roles within a year. That,
Great.
that release, yeah.
Great.
But it's the amount of time, it's the patience, it's the amount of years. I know, Crystal, you were talking about you relocated to Atlanta, going after what you want to go after, and now you're starring in a hit TV show. But those years, what were you doing in those years?
Yeah, like I said, I came from Washington. I'm from Tennessee, but I after college, like you, I was following my parents' orders.
Orders,
Right.
Orders.
Yeah, you need to go to college, get an education, get a good job, and I had interned my junior year in college for the Senate in Washington D.C. and then got a job there. Wow. So I left my junior year. Actually left the first semester of my senior year and finished everything else online, and stayed in D.C. for like 2.5 years. And I was like, this is not for me. And I just literally, I had no job. I knew people, like I knew Q from 112 and a few other people, but that was it. They were like, hey, we'll help you figure out your music career. I called my uncle. I was like, hey, I don't have a place to stay. Can I stay with you? And he was like, sure. So I literally moved here with no job, nothing, just a bed to sleep in and a dream. And so that was it.
That was your support.
That was my support. And my mom was like, well, just pray about it. My whole apartment was already packed up and like in a cube sent to Atlanta. I got my little Jetta and I was like, I'm on the way. And I got here and it was probably like the most depressing time of my life. Like it took me a year to find a job. It was during the recession. Probably not the smartest time to move. But you know, a dreamer's gonna dream and just go when they feel like it's time to go.
Right.
So I got here and I literally hit the ground running, started recording, meeting new people, networking, and nothing was really hitting. Like I just kept hitting walls. And then I said, well, let me try the acting thing. So I did background and people were like, oh, you know, you gotta look, come on, let's bump her up to feature background. And certain things were happening, and then I was starting to like meet people and learning casting directors and getting more callbacks. And then I had a friend who was styling at the time at Tyler Perry Studios, and she said, hey, you have a knack for fashion. Why don't you try just working in the costume department? I was like, okay. And I've always been a believer that you should try to surround yourself around whatever you're trying to do, even if you're not starting in the position that you want. Be around it. So I went in and I interviewed for a production assistant job, which is the lowest job at the studio, and I ended up getting it and did all the grunt work, going to get coffee, getting people's breakfast, and you know, you go from like making great money to like going back down, and it was a shift me. You know, I had to check my ego, like, okay, this is just a part of the pivot.
Yeah.
And I did that for probably 3 months, and they were like, hey, we're gonna move you to dress the background. So I dressed all the background for like a year, and then they're like, we're gonna move you to dress the main actors. And that's when Tyler took a notice to me, and we were off. I was working on a movie with T.I. and Gabrielle Union and Jamie Foxx, and the president of the studio called, and he said, hey, Tyler wanted me to call you. We want to know if you want to be the costume designer. And I was like, ooh. I was starting to get callbacks at this time. So it's like, I'm right there. You can just feel it, you know? And I said, well, let me pray about it. Because I wasn't sure if I wanted all that responsibility. You know, it's a lot. It's more business when you're running a department. So I ended up taking it. And then before I even started my first costume designing gig, I get a call from Tyler asking me to style him. And I was like, okay, what's happening right now? So I was really like, all right, Lord, I need you to order these steps because I don't know if I'm giving up on something that I'm like, you know how the meme of them digging and the person gives up and he's like right there, and the other person's like, you were right there.
Right.
I didn't know if I was right at the door, and something just said, you know what, this is a great opportunity, take it. So I took it, and I literally did not audition for anything, didn't pursue music, anything for 5 years, and solely committed my life to Tyler because being a personal stylist is very demanding for someone of his caliber. And then doing every single show, every play, every movie that he produced, I was the costume designer on it. So I didn't really have a life for 5 years. And then Sisters came about, and we were having a conversation, and I was like, yeah, let's do this. And I was like, I don't know what I would do. He said, you produce it. I said, okay. He said, so you're a costume designer and produce it. I said, okay. Casual, just conversation.
Wow.
Because when you're, you know, from like how close you get to your stylist, like it's a very, like, you have to trust the person, you build a bond, and it's like, okay. So we would just have normal conversations, and he was like, you'll produce it? And I'm like, excuse me? He said, yeah, you'll be a producer. I was like, okay. Wow. So I'm reading the scripts, and I told this story on our talk show, and I said, I was reading the scripts, and I called him. He was in full Medea costume backstage, and I was like, what are you doing? And he was like, I'm backstage, waiting to go on stage. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I was like, I'll call you later. He's like, no, what's up? And I was like, I'm reading these scripts, Tyler, and I was like, they're speaking to me. Because, like, as a producer, like, we're giving our stories, letting me know what we as young women are going through. And a lot of my friends who knew what I wanted to do were like, you have to say something. This is the time to say something.
This is you.
Of all time. And I was like, so I've been trying to do this for years. I stopped doing it when I started working for you. And he was like, send me some self-tapes. Like, send me what you've been submitting. And he was like, I can't work with this. He was like, okay. I said, but I'm not giving you anything. He said it's gonna be small, and whatever happens with it is up to you. And season 1, nobody knew my name. I was just Andy's assistant on the show. They were like, Andy's assistant. Nobody knew my name was Fatima on the show. And season 2 came about. They made me a series regular, and I ended up becoming one of the, in addition to the sisters, so I became one of the main girls. And then by season 3, we find out I got a spinoff. Oh. And that just goes to show, like, it's like you never know, like, what God is planning for you while you're, like, being a servant of other people. So I was down there putting on other people's shoes. And a friend that I worked with at the same time, I'm about to get choked up, he, one day we were putting on somebody's shoes. He said, I'll be putting on your shoes one day. And the first scene I had on Sisters, he was there waiting with my shoes.
Stop. Yeah. Still have napkins.
Yeah, we need to. Wow.
But, you know, and that's why this conversation is super important, right? Because the world and just the way people see things and perceive things from social media, from life, is just kind of like a highlight reel, right? Exactly. They don't get to see the background work it takes to build who you are, the struggles you go through, you grow through, you overcome, right? Yeah. That moment, you know, speaks to you and is powerful because that's someone that's seen what you came from, right? Yeah. And you weren't going after what you wanted to, but you were still in the room, right? Saying like how you were saying, your mom said, if you want to be working for the NBA, you need to figure it out. You'll be able, let me write these letters. Yes. Let me be a ball girl. And now you're a ball girl. Then what? What happens after that?
You know, so I didn't even know what a ball kid was. I was like, what is that? He's like, you come in early, you mop sweat, you fold towels. And I was like, okay. And he's like, by the way, it doesn't pay. And I was like, wait, what?
It doesn't pay?
No, you work for tips at the end of the night if everyone does
tips
well.
From who?
From who?
From the visiting team's equipment manager.
Wait.
They have a stack of cash, and they would say, all right, you might get $20, you might get $40. But I did it. And so I was in high school, 15, 16, and it was the best job I've ever had. You know, there was a team owner's son who was a ball boy. And so he had a sister who would sit on the sidelines with their parents every game. And so when I started, she was like, hey, I could do that too. Because women couldn't go in the locker room back then, none of that. So I was on the court. Yes. I didn't know how to rebound, I didn't know how to pass. And so the players and the assistant coaches taught me everything. Wow. But I hustled. Like I was diving for loose balls, like I was in the game, pregame shoot around.
Whoa. Mid-game, do not get on the court.
And so, you know, she was a ball girl with me, so we were the first women on the court for the Heat, and it was awesome. And, you know, throughout high school, I was still doing my art, so gallery exhibitions, and I had an artist manager helping me sell, an agent helping me sell my art. And, you know, my senior year, a woman there went to Wake Forest, and I was like, what is a Wake Forest? Wow. And, you know, she was like, their mantra is pro humanitate, and I would do a lot of volunteer work. My mom was a nurse, I was a candy striper, I was everywhere just trying to help. And she was like, I feel like you would be great for it. So I applied, I got there on an art scholarship. So I ended up going to Wake. And every summer I would come back to Miami and volunteer. It was the draft, free agency, scouting reports, anything I could to be around basketball and to learn. I want to say it was like my junior year. One of the assistants, I was like, what do you want to do? I was like, I'm going to be the first female coach in the NBA. He was like, have you ever played? And I was like, well, nah.
No.
And he was like, it's going to be really hard for a man to respect you if you've never even played the game.
Yeah.
And I felt that. I was like, that makes a lot of sense. But I was like, I still wanted to be around basketball. So my senior year, I applied for a job at the NBA headquarters. It was like a management training program. And I had Pat Riley and Alonzo Mourning write letters of recommendation for me. I was like, this is my job. Like, I knew it. So I did my interviews, went well. And then the NBA called me back and they're like, Melissa, you had a great interview. You come highly recommended. However, we don't think you fit our culture. You're too creative for us, and we're a business. And so, unfortunately, because of that, we deny you this opportunity. So I was like, all right, every other college student, if you don't know what you want to do, you stay in school. So I was like, I'm just going to get this master's, I'm going to teach, do something. In Wake Forest, I was in the communication department. I was a comm major and an art minor. And they're like, they love me in the comm department. In there, met with the dean, and he was like, Melissa, we love you here. You're amazing, and we think you're using this as a crutch, and we think you're destined for bigger and better things, so we're not going to give you this crutch to fall back on. I was like, wait, what? I was like, wait, what? This is where I'm supposed to be. And so they turned me down, and I had no clue. I was like about to graduate, and a woman in the communications department, she was an assistant, Beth Hutchins, never forget this woman. She was like a second mom to me. She had this flyer, and it said T3. I was like, what is it? It's the Turner trainee team. It's an internship in Atlanta at Turner Broadcasting. I didn't know what Turner Broadcasting was. I was like, CNN, Cartoon Network. I was like, okay,
you gotta say the network so we know what you're talking about.
Right, I was like TBS, TNT. And so all it said was send us your talent in a project. And I was so intrigued by that creatively. And so I decided I was gonna make a Powerpuff Girl of myself, and I was gonna sew it. I can't sew. So I tried, and it was horrible. And I took that sketch, and I ended up making a magazine, a TV guide, all about me, my brand. It was my artwork and writing samples and a resume, and I made like fake ads. It was like me as Cleopatra on Turner Classic Movies and me as a ball girl for NBA on TNT. And I submitted it. Wow. And TNT Marketing called me, and they said, you sold yourself well to us. We think you would do an amazing job of selling our content to consumers. And that's how I got my first job in marketing. Wow. And moved here to Atlanta. Wow. And that was like 2002. And I made no money as an intern. And so I didn't know anyone in Atlanta. Somebody's friend from Miami was coming, so we ended up being roommates. And because I made no money, I called my old boss in the Heat. I was like, you know anyone at the Hawks? He was like, yes. So he connected me, and I was a ball girl mopping up sweat on the court for the Hawks my first year in Atlanta. Wow. And working at Turner. And so it was such a weird just situation, but I loved it. And it was like when Atlanta was Atlanta. Like, it was like the best time for me.
Hold on. When was Atlanta never? No,
I mean, it was. But to me, I was like, it's like old Atlanta, new Atlanta thing. You know what I'm saying? I felt like I was on the tail end of
And then there's now Atlanta.
Just drink coffee.
I was like, it was so amazing. It was like whole of the world. And so I started at Turner. They offered me a job to stay full time in marketing, and everyone was so settled and older. No one looked like me. I was the only minority in that room. And I was like, I don't think I want to settle. So I decided I want to go to grad school in London. And I'd gotten into a creative program at Central St. Martin's College of Art and Design. So they were like, hey, come in, you just need $20,000 in the bank to come here. I was like, wait, what? Right. And so I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get it. And one of my coworkers was like, why don't you just ask for it? I was like, okay, cool.
Things we don't think about.
Things I would never think about. I was taught you got to work hard for it. So I wrote a proposal, and I had all this original artwork that I'd done. So I said, I wrote two. One was, I'll give you all my artwork, give me this money, and then I'll be able to, travel, and I'll give back to the world and be a great citizen. And then I did another one that said, just give me this money, and I'll be a great world and get back. And that was the same at the All-Star game was in Atlanta. And so I was working, mopping up sweat on the court for all the activities, and some players I knew, I was handing out my proposal, anybody, auntie, uncle, manager, and then maybe
was a TV guy? No,
that wasn't a TV guy. It was like a book report kind of thing. And it was so ironic, maybe 2 months after All-Star, a player that I used to work with in Miami, Tim Hardaway, calls me. And he was like, my wife and I saw a proposal, and we want to support you. Wow. And he literally sent me a check for $20,000. And he was like, I don't want it back, just pay it forward. Right. Yes. And it completely changed the trajectory of my life. And so I was able to go to grad school, got my master's, came back to Atlanta, worked at Turner for another 9 years. Every department, every network, I was building brands. It was Core TV, rebranding it to True TV. creating new departments, working for, it was like an amazing time. And towards the end of my time, I had gotten married, and I remember there was a job at this new health and wellness startup Turner was launching called Upwave, digital health and wellness. I was like, what's that? I was like, I don't know, I work for every other network, this is new, I want to keep learning. Right. Every mentor I had said, don't take that job. Turner stinks at launching new businesses, you don't want to do that. And I was like, but I've done everything else. Growth was more important to me. So I took the job. 6 months after we launched this amazing brand, one CEO left, a new one came in, and it was the last business started and the first one cut. And I was 8 months pregnant with my daughter, and they laid me off. And I was like the poster child. They would send me out to recruit. They're like, this was our intern, who's now our vice president of marketing and content.
Right.
And I was 8 months pregnant. I was like, well, I guess I'm just gonna take this severance and figure out my life. And I did. And so 2 months after my daughter was born, I went to a draft party, because I'm a basketball fan, for the Hawks at Phillips Arena, and ran into an old mentor, one of the mentors who told me not to take that other job.
Didn't I tell you not to take that job?
Right. And I was like, hey, didn't know they were gonna be there.
Hey, how you doing?
And I ran into him, and he had just left Turner to go and be CEO of the Hawks.
Wow.
And when I was mopping up sweat my first year, he would sit courtside because he was the president of TNT, and he knew I loved basketball. When I was doing rebranding projects from True TV to Court, from Court TV to True TV, he was at the head of the table, I was at the bottom. And he literally was like, hey, Melissa, well, I might need some help building this brand. Can you sit in on some meetings? And I was like, sure, cool. So one meeting turned into two, turned into three, turned into consulting. Then it was, hey, would you want to come on board as a VP of brand strategy? Okay, cool, yeah. And I had no clue what I was gonna do. And I loved it. And then I found out later that he had a no poaching policy from when he left Turner. So if I was still at the company, he couldn't have hired me. So that whole idea that everything happens for a reason, like I felt it so deep. And so that was almost 8 years ago. And every year I was getting promoted. And now, fast forward, CMO and loving it.
That's
Go.
amazing.
Go
That's
stand.
amazing.
It's a crazy, a whole lot of no's on that journey.
How many no's if you had to guess?
Oh man.
Because everybody's always like, how many no's? We all say 1,000, but like, what is it? Is it really like 500, 27?
There's one thing that I noticed that is congruent with all of your stories is something that I also find is true in my life. It's this really small phrase that means so much to me. Delay is not denial.
Yes.
And all of us up here have had things that we thought of, and then it doesn't happen when we want or how we want.
Yes.
And that can affect your mind. That can affect your psyche. It can lead to depression. It can lead to imposter syndrome. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't feel that you're good enough or you're worthy. How do you deal with the mental strain? Like how would you say your mental health has been affected, and what do you do to maintain it as best as possible?
What do you like, or like to piggyback off what Chris is talking about, kind of like what are your practices to maintain your mental health, right? With all of the first and foremost, all of the attention, right?
Yeah.
And like imposter syndrome, where people saying that how did you get to this position? How did you get to the place where you are right now? Like, how do you deal with that? What are the activities? What are the actions you do daily to maintain your mental health?
I'd say prayer works.
Prayer works.
All the time. So like
Hello.
for me, like especially with my mom, like it was just like, it's okay, just put it all in God's hands. That was her lot. Put it all in God's hands. And I'm like, okay, I got that. This bill,
Right.
we gonna do it, but
We're going to say it, guys. There you go. Excuse me, Mr. Collector. It's in God's hands.
exactly. But as I got older, I was just like, like exercise and stuff, like that's important, and I believe in that. But I realized like two things. One, it was all perspective.
Yes.
Because you could get so caught up in what you're doing that it becomes everything.
Yeah.
And I was like, helicopter up. I'm like, life is so much more. We were just talking like tomorrow's not promised.
Yeah.
We're gonna enjoy this day. And so for me, that's like as soon as I feel it, I'm like, how important is this?
Right.
Like really.
Yeah.
And that is so critical. And then my other one is I just love all things West Indian and Caribbean. So I will go to a carnival or a soca fete in a minute.
Okay.
Right.
And that elevates whatever stress I have. I'm like, I just want to dance it out.
Yeah.
And that's my
I've
personal
witnessed
thing.
you dance and get out. So
And
On an
I'll dance
island.
many times.
On an island.
On a Trinidad, it doesn't matter. It
In
doesn't
the
matter.
Caribbean, it doesn't even matter.
It could be in
You-
Atlanta.
The beach.
I'm with it.
That's one of mine,
I
to
was
be
saying.
honest. My sanity, I find it getting enough vitamin D, sitting in the
Yes.
sun, submerging I'm a swimmer, national swimmer actually, but I have to be submerged in real ocean water, not
Yes.
pool water, unless it's ocean. I mean, unless it's saltwater pool, but that's one of my things. It's like going, yes, and grounding in the
Grounding
earth.
with the
Like
earth,
that's
yeah.
really, really important, being barefoot and being, free. But my other, you brought me to what became, so I actually dealt with depression. At the height of my career, when Pretty Girl Rock, one of my biggest songs was peaking at the charts, on the charts. I was having the lowest point of my life at the highest point of my career. And I remember a lot of pressure from the label, from management, from even the production company, Timbaland Polo, like my whole, there was so, fans. I felt so much pressure to continue, and I would be on stage crying, literally crying. I would have to turn around or just try to, figure it out, like at the mic during a show. And that's when I realized the word no would become my favorite word, and that was from then. It's a tool, okay?
It's a tool.
It's my favorite tool in my toolbox now, because when you're in a scenario like this, you're signed to a label, there's lots of people, there's a lot of pressure. Who fights for you?
Yeah.
Who's fighting for me?
Right.
But me.
Right.
And who's gonna fight for me like I will?
Nobody.
Nobody.
No one.
Even if I've got great team members, you know what I mean? People around me, there's a genuine connection. They really do love me. However, if I do not voice what I need, I can't expect them to understand where I'm at and how to provide this the environment that I need. So no, can't do it. No, not going. No,
Yes.
I don't care how much they're paying me. I'm not doing it. No became, and so
I love that word.
The reverse of that was only saying yes to what truly moved me, where I wanted to perform, where I felt like going. I only took shows places where I hadn't been yet, and I really wanted to see.
That's dope.
And so it just became, that was the reverse. It was like, well, saying no means saying yes to the things that would lift me
Yes.
again.
Mental clarity.
Yeah,
Just
no changed my
understanding
life.
Your environment, the energy you need to be around.
Yes.
You don't want to be around energy that's going to provide unhealthy moments for you, right?
Well, I was around great energy, like I said. The people around me are amazing people.
You just want to go to the same place, you want a new spot.
Well, no, it was just that it wasn't the people. It was the sleep deprivation is the thing. Getting enough rest.
That's real.
That's a thing.
Yes.
That alone
Well, Chris
will
tells me all the
send
time I don't sleep, so.
you'll be on your way out of here. Sleep deprivation, not enough
Yeah.
water.
Yeah.
Like people were scheduling us without even a food break. My days would be scheduled. I could look on a calendar and see my entire life months ahead. And I'm like, well, where
Where
are
am I
we
eating,
sleeping? The plane would be our hotel room many
Wow.
nights. The hotel room would be where we shower and change.
Right.
But I was getting vertical sleep.
Wow.
I wasn't even sleeping horizontal many, many times.
Wow.
Or fighting for a meal, just finding a Snicker bar, just finding, it's like people, they're great people, but the people that are doing your schedule might not be so great. I'm just kidding. People that are doing your schedule,
They don't take that into
They
account.
look at you like a human
Yeah.
robot, and you feel obligated to sacrifice so much of yourself to the point where you don't know self anymore. You don't know who you are anymore, and that was the hook, line, and sinker for me. It's like I gotta find me in this journey. I've got to be present here. I don't want to be a robot. It's got to be enjoyable and as fulfilling. It's the dream. It's like,
Yeah.
this is not, how is this not fulfilling? And it's because I had to interject myself and my will into this. I'm not gonna let others drive me crazy. Because that's where I was headed, straight to crazy.
Straight to
town.
crazy land.
Okay.
But it's okay. It's okay.
Yes.
We didn't get there. We learned how to say no.
Yes.
Right? We learned how to say no.
Rest, water.
Rest, water.
Vacation.
Vacation. So we got
Therapy.
vacation.
Yeah,
And therapy.
Therapy
That's
pays.
true too. And
Yes,
prayer.
real.
Yes.
Vacation,
Therapy's
therapy,
real.
prayer.
I definitely.
Water, sleep, and no. What you got?
in
For
therapy.
me, it's travel is big for me.
Okay.
I love, it's something about leaving the United States, experiencing different cultures that really just, it's almost like acting where you just take yourself out of this and it's like, whew, I can just really just be myself for a minute, you know, and I love that. And I actually, for the past, since probably like 2012, took on yoga. And hot yoga? Hot yoga,
Okay.
yeah, for me, and it's something about how hard it is in those moments where you just find the strength to breathe that makes me thankful for every breath. I know it may sound weird,
Yeah.
but like literally like those moments I'm holding the pose, I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot. And I like breathe, I'm like, I can barely hold myself up. And I just breathe, and it's like, okay. And it's something in those breaths that just makes me thankful just for the simple things. And this helped me just to kind of stay grounded and centered. But yeah, definitely traveling. Prayer is a big thing, and yeah, yoga. That's been something that's
Nam-myoho
really.
Renge-kyo.
Okay. Meditation. That's another thing I found.
Yes.
Meditation. You
You
discover
gotta sit
things that
still
work for you.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially in our
just
lives, like
breathe.
we're going. You got to find those moments to just be still. It's hard to find those times, but when you can,
Sometimes you gotta, like we talked about back there,
Yes.
steal it.
steal it. Yes, yes.
Steal
Steal the
it.
moment.
That's right.
Mine.
Yes.
Yes.
It is mine. Stilling moments. Let's talk about where we are right now. So sorry, Chris, but it is Women's History Month.
Don't be sorry. I'm surrounded by greatness. I'm great.
Exactly. Greatness, powerful, beautiful, intelligent. I'm loving this moment. But let's talk about women's future, right? You're in your current career. You're killing it. You're winning. What is next? Have you thought about what is next? Like, that's also a hard question to ask, right? I know.
Just let it flow. If anything, I mean, if I learned anything from 2020, it's the art of surrender. It's like, just stop trying to drive this thing. You know what I mean? There's so much we don't control. Just be a passenger for once. And do your best. You know what I mean? Still be present. Look forward to things and grab things as they come with all your might. But the planning, we don't have control of how things go. We don't have control of where things go.
Right.
I just love. I'm in a point of surrender.
I think our
I'm in a point of
lives are a
surrender. It's
testament
like
to that.
whatever.
Like,
Absolutely.
Yes, exactly.
It's just like,
What life
hey,
brings.
go with the flow.
If what life brings.
Yeah.
Sometimes God's like, yeah, you're gonna take point today, and sometimes God's like, you're riding the bench today. And I'm cool at whatever position. I'm gonna be prepared. So
She said that for you, because you know, ball is life.
Right.
Paul's like,
Go
yes,
see me to pick my puffs on. Y'all know I hoop. By the way,
me
can
too. We should get.
Yeah, we should. We gotta.
She doesn't play.
We gotta teach
I
you.
mean, I do now.
do now.
Oh,
Okay, all right. And you're pretty tall, so I feel like
you got a little athlete in you.
something in me. Okay.
A mean game of horse, you know what I mean?
Right.
Okay.
Let it rain. Rain jobs.
I'm ready. I'm ready to see y'all.
What's next? Are you still in the Zen moment, like Keri's talking about, Mel, or are you just like?
You know, it's so crazy because after I wrote my book, From Ball Girl to CMO, everyone's like, so when's the next book? You're going to be CEO, right? Like, that's it. And being in corporate America has always been a very interesting thing for me because it's the illusion of security. It's not, and getting laid off was probably the best thing that ever happened to me in my life. Because prior to that, it's not about trying to, for me, chase a title or salary or anything like that. I want to do work with impact. So I decided a while back, instead of being focused on those other tactical things, I wanted to define, I call them guiding principles for my life and my career. So I kind of have what I call my starting five, and it's like these 5 things are met. It's like the filter that I look through my whole life with. Then everything's cool. So being creative and strategic, you know, adding new tools to my toolbox as I get bored real easily. So whatever I'm learning, I'm good.
Yes.
My mom was horrible with money growing up, so I just want to be able to pay my bills on time. That was the goal.
Okay.
Right.
Now I want to be able to invest in my daughter for her future.
Right.
In some sense, generational wealth is important. Work-life harmony, because I don't believe in balance, because it's never balanced. Sometimes you got to live hard, sometimes you got to work hard.
Yes.
And my last one is authenticity.
Yes.
I keep it 100. You know,
I know
me.
you do.
See me outside, inside. Like, I don't code switch. What you see is what you get.
That-
So if
yeah.
I am working on a project or working for a company, I need to be able to bring my whole self 100 to work and allow everyone else to be their full self. So I can do anything as long as those 5 things are met. And so because I've defined that, I have no idea what the future will hold, but I know those 5 things will be a part
They'll
of
be
it.
part of
Yeah.
it. Just
And that's
making sure you
important.
understand the core.
But it makes it, I'm so much freer because of it. So then I'm down to go wherever God in the universe guides me.
Yes.
But I can do it and have conversations with intention.
Yes.
And for me, that's the difference.
And one day we're gonna sit down and have that conversation about the code switcher thing, because I don't do that. And I'm super authentic in my current role, and I'm like, this is what you bought, this is what you got. I will always be KG.
I know that's right.
Now listen, all right, we got Zatima coming. I don't know if y'all watch the show. I watch the show, but also your amazing co-star is one of my
Yes.
old acting friends in New York City. So
Amazing.
spinoff is coming, but do you see anything other than that? Do you see are you auditioning for other roles? Do you prefer TV, film, or do you prefer like movies? Like what do you?
Yeah, right now TV is what I'm doing, but I'm already auditioning for other stuff, but I do want to really get in that film area.
You're like super. It's like, with a film, it's like you just learn that script, you do it, you're done, and you out.
And 22 episodes get a little
I
crazy
wish-
sometimes.
Yeah.
I wish it were as easy as that sounds.
Well, I mean, okay.
It's not.
You're talking to Mize, the trained actor here from New York. I don't like theater though; it's just not my thing. But TV, at least you get a cut. I feel like film. It's you get your script and you know what you have, and it's beginning, middle, end. Whereas with TV, with sitcoms or shows, it could go on for 17 years.
True.
And you might be tired. And you walk down the street, everybody keep calling you that same name, like I'm not that. Hello. And then they yelling at you, like no, it's not me. Or it could even be a thing where the show, which has been happening a lot lately, abruptly ends with no real ending, and you're just left in limbo. So I feel like with the movies, it's beginning, middle, end. Like there's
some
closure.
finality.
yeah. A lot of men I've come to learn, you can speak on this, but they tend to like movies more than shows. I don't know.
As actors?
No, just watching.
Oh, yeah, based on my schedule, committing to a series that I don't know if I'm going to like it or not, and then I find out like there's a character I connect with, and now I have to watch season 2, or I like an episode and I'm in season 3.
And
And my wife was like, "Oh, well, you missed the first 2 seasons," and now it's like, "Well, now I don't
then
want to
now-
watch the rest of it."
Yeah.
Is this actor in the movie playing the same character? I want to watch the movie.
Right.
So that's the
Right.
thing. That's what I was like. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
movies, a little bit more finite. But okay, so you're auditioning, but you want to go into film.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to do everything.
That's what
I
I'm
don't
talking
want to
about.
box myself in.
Good.
But at
Theater?
the same time, I don't.
Everything. That was a lot because there's no cut.
Yeah, I gotta be careful.
There's
Yeah.
no give me my lines.
Are you
And
gonna
the way
sing?
college shoots is a lot like theater because where he came from. So the way we shoot, like I could be shooting episode 1, 2, 3, 8, 12, 15 from all different days. I have to know where I'm coming. Was I sad? Was I happy? What's going on in those moments? So like I could be shooting like 10 different episodes in a day, block shooting in this one location, changing costumes and like, okay, where am I at? Okay, I was sad. Okay, I gotta know where. It's so many different emotions. By the time I'm done, like after we're done shooting, I'm like.
Right,
Like,
right.
don't talk to me. I just need to sleep for a week, and then I'll come back to life. But yeah, it's a lot.
Mel
a lot
said
of
you're gonna have new music.
Yeah, so you gonna
New
sing?
music?
New music?
Music.
Oh no.
Yes.
I'm so curious.
See, this is where I know her from.
Yes.
Music.
Her singer day. I don't know. Was this 15 years ago? Who
Yeah,
knows how long?
2009. It was,
9?
yeah, 9.
Sheesh.
So I was aware of her as an artist.
That's
Maybe a
crazy.
songwriter too. I don't know.
No,
but
just artist.
Just
yeah.
artist. Okay. So
Yeah.
I had friends that were writing for her
Yes.
when she was a singer.
That's
Look
crazy.
at this.
Yes.
And you
Full
have
circle.
some.
But I'm gonna be
some
honest
moves?
with you, Keri, and everyone. I feel like once you get into it, for me, I wasn't as happy as I am acting.
Ah.
It was something where I just like I didn't feel fulfilled. And people asking, "Are you gonna go back into it?" Like, I would love to do musicals or like do like Disney musicals and stuff like that. But I don't know if I want to be a recording artist because it was just so much that came along with that.
Demanding.
As a woman.
That's why she says no.
Yeah.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So
What about you?
What
Any-
about?
New? Anything new?
she said, according to my contract, I can't launch it.
No. Can I don't know what I can say, but I can say that I still have music in me.
We
I
want
still
it.
have
Good.
more in me.
Let it out.
Cheers.
Yeah.
The
I
AKAs
have
are
more in
ready.
me. I have to do it. It's part of my plan. I don't want to tie my
Yeah, I got
twist
you.
my own
I
arm
got you. I
by
got
saying too much.
you. Yeah.
But I have more in me. And
That's
I have
awesome.
more
That's awesome.
in my artillery, I guess.
Yeah.
Would be the right
Yeah,
word.
your arsenal.
Yes,
When
You
you're
got
ready
it.
to say
My
yes,
arsenal.
we'll be ready.
Yeah. I think I'm
I
there.
see what you did
I
there.
think I'm there. unfulfilled. Not in, I love acting because I get to grow. I get to be a student again.
Yeah.
I love being a student.
Learning.
I'm most comfortable in discomfort in that way. Like when I know that it would be a purposeful growth.
Yeah.
Something adding to my toolbox. But music, I felt unfulfilled, and I had to do some maneuvering on the business side that has kind of kept me from being able to release.
Got it.
And yeah,
Got it.
so
Got it.
now that I feel I'm free.
Yeah.
I feel
Heard
ready.
that.
Heard that. Who hears you though? Who hears you though? So we talked a lot about career, the journey, family, friends, managers, talent reps, mentors. But we didn't talk about that personal relationship. How is home? You know, let's bring it back to the core. How is home for you? I know over here we have an amazing 7-year-old.
Yep, I got divorced around 5 years ago, so I'm a single mom-ish, but with a great co-parenting relationship with my ex-husband, which is awesome, and I'm super grateful for him, and an amazing daughter named Marley. I spent my entire day today at Oakland Cemetery for Girl Scouts.
Nice.
Yup, and selling cookies outside of that. So it's cool, but it's an interesting balance because I'm a mom first.
Right.
And so I'll take her to work with me. She was at the game with me on Friday night. Like, I make sure that she sees my world, and I'm grateful to have support from her dad so we can both kind of share, you know, in the responsibility. But that's what's most important. So while I love, you know, my work, my team is amazing. Obviously, being a part of the Hawks organization, I've been doing a lot of speaking lately. But, you know, Marley,
Aren't you
that's
like overseas in Dubai? or something?
Abu Dhabi
Yeah,
last
Abu
week.
Dhabi.
Yeah.
I saw
A
that.
couple days ago.
Literally like a couple
Double
days
tap.
ago. But having those opportunities is amazing, you know. And
Yes.
she's like, "Mommy, what did you bring me?" I'm like, "This stuffed camel. Here you go."
She's like, okay.
Yeah, she was kind of like,
A camel.
but yeah, that's my personal life because there's not a lot more time outside of that, you know. And time is the biggest challenge, I think, in all of that.
Keri, gonna curve you? You gonna curve us on a personal? You gonna-
Personal, just I've got amazing support system in my head.
Media trained over here. Media trained professional.
No, I mean, you know, I'm dating. I also I've become much closer to my family. When we lost our father, my brother's here actually. That's really, it takes a lot of my energy. My emotions are there. Just dealing with, you know, different family dynamics has really, it's all encompassing. And yeah, it's been, I mean, that's my tribe. I've got an amazing tribe of girlfriends, amazing tribe. My manager is an amazing person. We've become best friends, you know. So I've got a lot of
You got
support.
the
And
core.
one day, yes, I do hope to have a child and a husband, and you know, but we'll see. Again, the art of surrender. So I'm letting God work, and I'm just, you know,
Let it happen.
just moving, not standing still.
She's like, yeah. Well, you're a godmom, right?
Yes,
You're a
I am.
godmommy to the amazing co-stars, baby. But what's going on?
You know, I haven't been in a relationship since 2018. I've been dating, but nothing serious.
4 years.
Yeah.
Let's go.
But I feel like it happened at the right time. I'm the type of person when I'm in a relationship, I love to sow into my partner, and I feel like I'm in a season where I need to focus on me, and I'm okay with it, you know. And it's scary because I get so used to being by myself. And then there's moments where like I'll walk from my bathroom into my bedroom and I'll see all the pillows. You know how we love a bunch of pillows. And I'll see all the pillows piled
And
up on
I
one
literally
side.
throw them off the bed.
Yeah.
And I throw them off the bed.
I do a pillow tower.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
I
It's
literally-
been something about that. And I walked to my room one day
It looks
getting bed,
nice.
and I was like, wow,
It's a lot
this
of
is what your life is turned into.
Well,
Like,
as long as you
just, I
don't got a
felt
cat, you don't
lonely
got a
in
cat,
that
right?
I see.
No, I don't have any pets. so.
Okay. As long as you ain't got a cat, you good. Pillows are okay. It's decorative.
Yeah.
My plants are my babies.
Yeah, see, I need something. I can't do the
I'm starting to get better at that.
Got working.
15 babies.
See, yeah.
I like the fact, and I appreciate the fact that neither your success or your current happinesses are defined by anybody else but yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's a really important
So
takeaway
important.
for men who are watching, and
You mean eligible
Eligible
bachelors who are
bachelors.
watching?
yes,
I'm just kidding.
All right, how do
Or
you
men that are
just-
even in
Slide in the
relationships.
DMs.
men
I
in
don't
general. No, but it's cool. No, but just men in general.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it changes the trajectory of what we teach our sons and what we teach our daughters,
Yeah.
right? So, you know, your daughter has a firsthand experience of the self-definition that you are exuding with the, you know, aspect of co-parenting that makes for, you know, her to feel loved by both. And that's extremely important.
It's incredibly important. I'm grateful that she has it. You know, we'll go to family, we took a trip together. You know, we'll go out to breakfast.
Yeah.
And like those things are important to me, and regardless of, you know, other situation, if I'm dating or he's
Yeah,
dating,
yeah.
like she's the most important.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. But just literally, I think we are coming out of the era of when we see successful women, whether it's on TV or on social media or reading, that we look for the dude,
Yeah.
right? We look for the financier. We look for the husband who was on, who opened all the doors for them.
Oh, yeah.
So it's incredible to be able to have this testimony for people to see, because it's common, and it wasn't always.
Exactly.
You know, so I just wanted to make sure that I said that, because sometimes when you're living in your truth, you're not understanding how your truth affects other people who have never seen that.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And that's a huge thing.
It is. Yeah.
Speaking of truth, wine or tequila? Wine or tequila?
Tequila.
Wine or tequila?
Tequila.
Wine or tequila?
Tequila.
Wine or tequila?
Wine. Yeah.
Well, you know, shout out to Patron. I'm a tequila girl. No, you're fine. You're fine. You know, we're
I
having.
think we were all supposed to say wine, though.
I was just messing with y'all. We're having uncorked.
So uncorked.
Technically, Patron has a cork, so you know.
Technically.
You're tuned in to Uncorked Conversations. We had a great time today. This, of course, was a conversation powered by BMW of South Atlanta and Fellaship ATL. So tune in. We'll be back. I'm Crystal Garner.
I'm Chris Classic. We'll
Deuces.
see you next time.